أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا.
فلم ترى وهي ترسف في سجود وهي ترسف في سجود
نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدى هدى محمد صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. As most of you know, Ikhwani, this is the blessed month of Shabaan, and today in particular is one of the more blessed aspects of the month of Shabaan, or last night was, depending upon when the moon was sighted. So as usual, there is ikhtilaf between the Muslims, difference of opinion as to when this particular month began. Ala kulli hal, last night some people practiced what is commonly referred to in the Asian community here in Birmingham and other than Birmingham as Shab, baraat, which means the blessed night, or the night of being free or forgiven. Shab is a Persian word which means night, and it's supposed to be al-bara'a, like al-wala wal-bara'. So it is the night of being forgiven, being emancipated. So on the 15th night of Shabaan, the Muslims preoccupy themselves with different aspects of ibadah. There are those people who fast during that day, and those people who pray during that night. And only if they had just stuck to fasting and praying according to the sunnah, then maybe, just maybe, they would have been in tune with what some of the scholars who said it was permissible to do special ibadat on this day, had they stuck with just praying and fasting, then maybe they would have been in tune with those scholars who they claim that they follow in their action of giving life to this particular day and giving life to this particular night. But in reality, Ikhwani, the Muslims who want to practice the 15th of Sha'ban with special ibadat, they don't do it according to the way that those scholars used to say it was permissible to do. So what we find that people doing now is they make sweet rice, they pass out sweets, they pass out candy, they make biscuits, cookies, they pass them out. They spend the night praying 100 rak'at. In each rak'at they read Qul huwallahu ahad 1,000 times. In each rak'at, Qul huwallahu ahad. They light candles, they burn incense and bukhur. So they pray in the masajid with the lights turned down low or totally and completely turned off, and they put a few candles around to help them to create the ambiance of an environment of taqwa and ibadah. So this was not what the scholars of al-Islam were upon, who said that it was permissible to give life to this particular night. And we're going to come to that inshaAllah ta'ala. So what we wanted to do today, because we had a number of people in our community who come from other masajid, they hear things that are being encouraged in their local masajid, then they come in and they want to know, what's the reality of this issue, what's the reality of that issue. We want to say, Ikhwani, if that's your characteristic and your description that you are a visitor here, this masjid is your masjid, and we'll also entertain whatever questions and issues you may have to the best of our ability. But we say, fear Allah Azza wa Jal as it relates to creating fitna and fawda between the Muslims of the different masajid, going back and misconstruing what you were told here, going back and telling people what's being said here in an attempt to make people over there think or feel that someone is attacking them. This is for fitna, people who want fitna. But for those sincere brothers and sisters who were going to different masajid, and those masjids were on the traditional Asian way of al-Islam, listen to what the pir says and don't question it. Listen to what is claimed is from the madhab, right or wrong, and don't question it. Listen to what your mother and your father were taught by their mothers and fathers, who in turn were taught by their mothers and fathers, all the way back to the silsila reaches Kashmir or Pakistan. Listen to what's being told to you and don't question it. As for you people who are sincere and you want to come here and you want to learn your religion, then we say, what we tell you is what we believe. Like it who likes it, hate it who hates it. And if you ever find out that what we said was wrong, based upon the dalil, all you have to do is come back and show the proof, and wallahi, from this microphone in public, we're going to rectify what was said that was wrong. But don't come and tell us that my peer said this and my mother said that, and we do this in our country, or in that masjid over there, this is what we're doing. So let us fear Allah Azza wa Jal and not be from the people who make division unnecessarily between the Muslims. So in addressing this particular issue, I would like to emphatically state here with quwwah, with power, and want to be strong in stating this as it relates to the application of worshiping Allah Azza wa Jal on the 15th of Shabaan with a special ibadah, or a special form of worship, a formula that you came up with. We say this is not authentic in the religion of al-Islam. And in order for us to believe that a day is special or a night is special, then that has to come to us from Allah Azza wa Jal or from His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. The only special days, the only special nights or days in this religion are those nights and days that have been established by this deen. من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whoever stands up in the night of Ramadan with faith, he believes in Allah and that this is legislated and that there are rewards for this night, and that the Quran was revealed in this night, and this is the night of ibadah and the furqan, and other than that, whoever stands up believing in that and everything that he was told about Ramadan and the nights of Ramadan, and he's expecting his reward from Allah Azza wa Jal as a result of standing, his sins will be forgiven. Those sins that went forth and those sins that he did in the past. That's established. So we know that the nights of Ramadan are special. The nights of Rajab, the nights of Muharram, the nights of Shabaan, the nights of Dhul Qa'dah, any other night you have to bring adillah. And the only special nights in this deen are the nights of Ramadan as it relates to the ibadah. And the daytimes are the same way. The days that are special in al-Islam are established by the deen. The 10th of Ashura is special. The 6 days of Shawwal, the days of fasting the month of Ramadan are special. The day of Arafat is special. Other than that, people have to bring the dalil. So what we want to do, inshallah ta'ala, is just to go over very quickly, because it's not a complicated issue. Even the aspect of having ikhtilaf, having differences amongst ourselves as to whether or not we should practice or we shouldn't practice, even that is extremely easy to conceive and to accept. So we just want to put the brothers and the sisters on clear evidence as it relates to what should be done and what shouldn't be done. Again, there is no ayat in the book of Allah Azza wa Jal that makes reference or alludes to the superiority of the 15th of Shabaan, praying it or fasting. Not a single ayat of the Quran. Not a single ayat of all of the Quran. And the people who say that you can worship Allah with special ibadat, fasting, making the salat, giving sadaqah, visiting the graves, anything other than that, then they only have 4 types of proofs. Only 4 types of proof, and none of their dalil in actuality helps them in reality to do what they're trying to do. The first dalil, or the first type of dalil, the proof that they use, are those authentic ahadith about the 15th of Shabaan. They establish the authenticity of the virtue of Shabaan. Shabaan is a blessed month, and the 15th of this month is a blessed night. So the person shouldn't allow himself to miss the opportunity of the blessings of the month by wasting his time watching TV, by wasting his time doing things that are not halal. And this is the strange thing with our ummah. You find those people who don't pray throughout the year, but when the month of Ramadan comes, they want to fast and they don't pray. Wallahi, there's no siyam of Ramadan for the one who doesn't pray. The salat is more important than the siyam. And the one who doesn't make salat, he is tariqus salat, la siyama lahu wa in sama. He has fallen into kufr. And it's maybe the kufr that takes him outside of the fold of al-Islam for abandoning the salah. Similarly, we find people who don't practice the religion, they don't pray during the course of the day, but on the 15th of Ramadan, on the 15th of Shabaan, they want to fast that day, and they want to pray in that particular night to take a shortcut to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's maghfirah and His Jannah. So their first dalil are those authentic ahadith that establish the superiority of the night. Like the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu that's been collected by Imam ibn Hibban in his Sahih, and Imam al-Tabarani in his Mu'jam al-Kabir. The Prophet says sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, يَتَّلِعُ اللَّهُ إِلَى جَمِيعِ خَلْقِهِ لَيْلَةَ النِّصْفِ مِنْ شَعْبَانِ يَغْفِرُ فَيَغْفِرُ لِجَمِيعِ خَلْقِهِ إِلَّا لِمُشْرِكٍ أَوْ مُشَاهِدٍ. Allah Ta'ala looks at all of His creation on the 15th night of Shabaan. Tonight, or it could have been last night. Allah looks at all of the mankind, and then He forgives every single human being all of his dhunub, the major ones and the minor ones. He forgives the sins of those people except for 2 people. He doesn't forgive the sin of a mushrik. The mushrik from Ahl al-Kitab, they're from the Ashab al-Nar, and they're not our brothers in this deen. The mushrikun from the Hindus and the Sikhs, everyone other than Muslim, they're from the mushrikeen. Allah won't forgive them. Nor will He forgive the Muslim who with knowledge is fallen into shirk. He thinks he's on the deen, but he's outside of the deen because he's a magician. Or he's outside of the deen because he's making shirk with Allah Azza wa Jal by wearing a tamima, the tama'im of a shirk and kufr. And the second person that He doesn't forgive is the Muslim that has a problem with another Muslim. So if you have personal problems that have come as a result of the dunya, and it is not deen related, and they are preventing you, these problems are preventing you from connecting with your relatives or other Muslims, from your neighbors or other than that, then Allah Azza wa Jal won't forgive that individual as well. So this hadith, which is authentic, is a clear hadith that establishes the virtues of this particular night. But even more important than that, ikhwani, it should be an encouragement. If the person wants to have his deeds forgiven and accepted by Allah Azza wa Jal, then he should make peace with those Muslims who he has problems with. That's the first hadith, and there are a number of them. He says sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, on the authority of Usamah ibn Zayd radiyallahu anhu, الذي قال يا رسول الله قلت يا رسول الله لم أراك تصوم من الشهور ما تصوم من شعبان فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم ذلك شهر يغفل الناس فيه عنه بين رجب ورمضان وهو شهر ترفع فيه الأعمال إلى رب العالمين وأحب أن يرفع عملي وأنا الصائم. Usamah ibn Zayd said, Ya Rasulullah, I have never seen that you complete a full day's fasting, a full month's fasting other than Ramadan. I see that out of all of the months, the ones that you fast outside of Ramadan more than any other month with the exception of Ramadan is Shabaan. Why do you fast so much in Shabaan? He says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, verily that is the month that many people are negligent concerning its virtues, its reality. People don't contemplate and consider the virtues of the month in preparation of Ramadan. It is a month that is between Rajab and Ramadan. Rajab, Shabaan and Ramadan. And it is the month in which the deeds go up to Allah for reckoning and consideration. And I want my deeds to go up while I'm fasting. So I want my deeds to go up while I'm fasting the days of Shabaan in general. That's what he used to do, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he did not wait for the 15th day of Shabaan to begin that fast. He used to fast the whole of the month sometimes, and then when Ramadan became an obligation, he left it alone and he would fast for the first half of the month, trying to make things easy for the Muslims. And the last hadith that we want to mention that establishes the superiority and the virtue of the days and the night of Sha'ban, the 15th night of Sha'ban, is the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha that's been collected and agreed upon by the Shaykhan al-Imam al-Bukhari and Muslim. قالت رضي الله عنها كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصوم حتى نقول لا يفطر ويفطر حتى نقول لا يصوم ما رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم استكمل الصيام شهر قط إلا شهر رمضان وما رأيت في شهر أكثر صيام فيه من شعبان. Aisha radiallahu anha, may Allah be pleased with her, said, verily the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to fast so much so that we said amongst ourselves, he is not going to break his fast, he's going to continue the fast. And sometimes he used to break his fast and he wouldn't fast, to the point where we would say he's never going to fast again. And I personally never saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam complete any month of fasting, with the exception of the month of Ramadan. That's the only month that I knew that he fasts from the first to the last of the month. And I've never seen him fast in a month outside of Ramadan the way he used to fast in the month of Sha'ban. So those hadith establish the virtues of fasting in the month of Sha'ban in general, and establish the virtues of the night of the 15th of Sha'ban. Salima radiallahu anhu has been collected by Imam al-Tirmidhi. She said, ما رأيت النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصوم شهرين متتابعين إلا شعبان ورمضان. Salama narrated the opposite of what Aisha narrated, because she's speaking based upon her knowledge. She said, may Allah be pleased with her, I never saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fast 2 months consecutively without a break between the 2 months, with the exception of what I saw him fasting in the month of Sha'ban from the beginning to the end, and then he fasted Ramadan from the beginning to the end. Again, ikhwani, that was abrogated. That's what he used to do, and it was something he did. He didn't tell his community to do it. And then after that, he stopped fasting the month of Sha'ban in its totality. Not only did he stop fasting, but he made it prohibited. He prohibited us from fasting the month of Ramadan and trying to be safe, fasting Sha'ban a day or the last 2 days of Sha'ban, because you want to be sure you fast the beginning of Ramadan. He said, don't do it. لا تقدموا رمضان بصوم يوم أو يومين. When Ramadan is getting close and it's the 28th, the 29th, or the 30th, don't fast for the sake of trying to be sure that you're going to catch the beginning of Ramadan. He didn't allow the Muslims to fast the last day or two of the month of Sha'ban in their attempt to be sure that they caught the month of Ramadan on the bullseye. So those ahadith and those athar of those companions radiallahu anhum, they establish clearly from the kalam of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the fadl, the virtues and the superiority of the day. So that's their first dalil. So it's like an individual taking these adillah that we just mentioned and other than them, and then based upon those proofs that establish the superiority of the month, he comes and he says, these proofs establish that if you have a minbar in your masjid, then you should put a red carpet of it based upon these ahadith. The ahadith are authentic, but they don't show what you're talking about and what you're trying to prove. What does a red carpet have to do with what these ahadith are saying? Similarly, these ahadith are authentic, but don't come and say they are proof that you should fast on that day or you should pray during that particular night, unless you can bring a dalil that that's what the companions did and that's what the Prophet ﷺ also did, that he prayed specifically on this night and he gave instruction for us to pray on the night. The second dalil that they use, ikhwani, is those proofs that are extremely weak or fabricated, because all of the adillah that show that you should pray on this particular night or fast on this day, all of those ahadith without an exception are very, very weak, or they are fabricated. Some of them to the point that no one with an intellect would possibly try to practice one of these ahadith. Whoever prays 100 rakat on the 15th night of Shabaan, and each rakat he reads Qul huwallahu ahad, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to give him 100 huru'in. Each huru'in will be given 1,000 servants. Each servant will have another 1,000 servants, and all of those servants will come and they will try to make intercession for the individual Yawm al-Qiyamah, for him and his parents. So when people hear that fabricated hadith, they become excited and they want to practice the ibadat that have not been established from what is authentic. Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, in his book Al-Munar al-Munif fi Sahih wa Da'if, he said about some of these tremendous ahadith, ikhwani, you don't have to necessarily be a muhaddith in order to know that certain ahadith are not authentic. If you're a person who reads, even in English, you're a person who reads about your deen, there are certain ahadith when you read them, you never heard the hadith. When you read it, you know automatically this is a lie on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number one, because had it been authentic, more than likely you would have heard of it. And number two, some of what's being spoken about in the hadith, you do some small thing and as a result of that, you get a tremendous amount of rewards, like what was mentioned in the hadith that we just mentioned. Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim said about these ahadith, rahimahullahu ta'ala, al-ajab mimman shamma رائحة العلم بالسنن أن يختر بمثل هذا الخذيان ويصليها وهذه الصلاة وضعت في الإسلام بعد ال400. He said rahimahullah ta'ala, what is strange from the person who has smelled the fragrance of knowledge and the sunnah, he has an idea of being exposed to the knowledge of al-Islam and the sunnah, what is strange is for him to be tricked and to be fooled by this type of delusion. This type of hadith is a hudiyan, is a delusion. And then he goes and he prays this particular salah. And verily these prayers were not introduced to this ummah except after the first 400 years of al-Islam. The first 100 years, this salat was not present. Second 100 years, it wasn't present. The third 100 years wasn't present. In the end of the third 100 years and the beginning of the 4th century, that's when certain people from the tabi'een introduced this innovation, rahimahumullahu ta'ala. So that's the second type of proof, the fabricated hadith, or the hadith that's extremely weak. Thirdly, ikhwani, from the adillah is the fact that some of the righteous people from this ummah practice this innovation, and that is a fact. Some of the righteous people of this ummah made ijtihad, and they practice this particular innovation. Some of the righteous people from the ummah, from the tabi'un, those people who were taught by the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who we get closer to Allah by loving them and honoring them. Al-Imam Al-Hasan Al-Basri, everyone knows Al-Hasan Al-Basri from the A'imma of the Tabi'een. We get close to Allah by learning what he said, learning what he did, learning how he taught, learning how he learned. His defense of Al-Islam and the Sunnah, Ibrahim Al-Nakha'i, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, Sa'id ibn Jubair, ulama of this ummah. We love them and we honor them. And part of our Islam is understanding the Quran and the Sunnah the way they understood it. So there are certain people from the Tabi'een who used to practice this. Illustrious Imams. Like Khalid ibn Ma'dan from the Tabi'een. As well as Luqman ibn Amir. Al-Imam al-Awza'i. A tremendous scholar in al-Islam. Tremendous scholar. The scholar of Sham, Al-Imam al-Awza'i. As well, there are reports that the Imam of the Sunnah is Ishaq ibn Ibrahim al-Rahuwiya, the Imam of Al-Imam Ahmed, the teacher of Al-Imam Ahmed al-Bukhari. It is reported that he used to do it and they used to encourage it. So the people of Sham from the Tabi'een were the first people of this ummah to start practicing the ibadat on the special day of praying the 15th of Shabaan, not the companions. So as it relates to that particular issue, ikhwani, it's very simple. It's very simple. The Tabi'un, as we mentioned, they have a special position in this deen, but the position of the companions is higher than their position, and the position of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is higher than the position of the companions, and as a result of that, higher than the condition of the Tabi'un. So the companions didn't do it. And there were those people from amongst the Tabi'een who were against what they used to say. Al-Imam al-Awza'i himself, Al-Imam al-Awza'i, he said in the hadith of the 15th of Shabaan that Allah looks at His creation, He forgives everyone except a mushrik and a mushahin. Mushahin is the one who has a problem with someone else. And Imam al-Awza'i said the mushahin is also the mubtadi'. He's the one who falls into innovation. So obviously Al-Imam al-Awza'i was an imam of the Sunnah. He made ijtihad and he got it wrong. So how do we understand what these particular ulama, what they said in their position? How do we look at that? Some Tabi'een took this position and they actually did it. And along with them, some of the illustrious Imams of al-Islam. It is recorded and reported that Al-Imam Ahmed was also of the opinion that this is an illustrious night, that you should make some worship in it. And that's the position of the majority of the Hanabila. Al-Imam al-Suyuti called to it, and he was upon it. Al-Imam al-Shafi'i said it's one of the virtuous nights in al-Islam, and it is mustahab to pray in it and to fast on that particular day. So you have bona fide scholars who took that position. So with that being the case, as tulab al-ilm, when we know that there's an issue that major scholars took the other position, we know that we have to be careful of saying that person is a mubtadi' for doing this particular thing. If the imam took that position and he's not a mubtadi' and he can fall into it, then the one who has less in degree in knowledge and taqwa than that individual can also fall into the same thing. But we reject anyone's statement in this deen that they don't have a dalil, that the Prophet did it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, called to it, and that's what his companions were upon. So just as certain Tabi'een did it, there were certain Tabi'een who refuted them. The people of Al-Hijaz, they refuted this practice from the Tabi'een. There's a Tabi'i by the name of Ibn Abi Mulaika. Ibn Abi Mulaika, from the tremendous Tabi'een of the Tabi'een, who heard that a man by the name of Amir al-Namiri, a famous imam in the masjid who used to give stories. And the storytellers in the masjid, they like to give you elaborate stories about the virtues of this or the danger of that. Ibn Abi Mulaika, when he heard that this man was saying that there's some special virtue of this particular night, and that this night was mentioned in the Quran, he sought out to actually give the man the had for lying on Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. There were certain Tabi'een, ikhwani, who said that the ayat of the Quran, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr, verily we revealed this Quran on the night of power. There were Tabi'een who said that the night of power of this Quran's revelation is the 15th of Shabaan. Al-Imam al-Tha'labi took that position. Ikrimah, the student of Abdullah ibn Abbas, was of the opinion that that ayat is talking about the Quran being revealed on the 15th of Shabaan, every Muslim knows that that's talking about the night of power and one of the last of the 10 nights of Ramadan. In the ayat in Surah Ad-Dukhan, yufriqu fihi kullu amrin hakim, on the night of power every important affair was taken care of. That's talking about what happened Laylatul Qadr, that was in Ramadan, but some tabi'een said it was the 15th of Shabaan. So the point is, ikhwani, pay attention. If it was a proof that the tabi'i said this, so therefore that's the dalil. The tabi'i said you can make ibadah on this night, so therefore we have to do it. Then there's a tabi'i or a number of tabi'een who said that the Quran was revealed on the 15th of Shabaan. Just because a tabi'i said it doesn't make it correct. Doesn't make it correct. We have to look back to what Rasulullah said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he did and what his companions understood from him. That's what we have to look back to. So those tabi'een, they made a mistake. Another point, ikhwani, as it relates to the position of the tabi'een and the ikhtilaf, the points of difference in which the tabi'een had. The companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if they themselves differed in a particular issue, some companions said halal, other companions said haram, do we just simply say this companion said haram, so therefore I'm going to do it? And there are other companions who took a varying position? No, the responsibility of the Muslim, the student of knowledge, is to weigh what both groups are saying and then to take the truth. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma, at one time, it is authentically reported that Abdullah ibn Abbas was of the opinion that muta' marriage is halal and it is permissible. So a person finds that a companion made that statement, that muta' marriage after the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is halal. You can do it. He finds that statement in Sahih al-Bukhari. And then over here he finds in Sahih al-Bukhari and other than Bukhari that the vast majority of companions said no. It's been abrogated in the year that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam conquered Khaybar, or the year that he conquered Mecca. So what is he going to do? Is he just going to take because a companion said that? No, we have to weigh the varying positions and then come out with the result. Who was on the truth? So those tabi'un who said that it wasn't permissible, the haq was with them. That's the third proof that those people use. Righteous people do it and righteous people did it. And Imam Ahmed said it was okay. And Imam Ibn Taymiyyah in the Majmu' al-Fatawa, he wrote some words that allude to you understanding that he said it was okay. He said it was the position of the majority of the Hanabila, and it seems like it's his position. But his student, Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, came and said this was introduced in the 400 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So even he, Al-Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, who was the student of Al-Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, didn't just take the position because his imam or his madhab or the imam of his madhab, Al-Imam Ahmed rahimahullah ta'ala, was of that position or opinion. Finally, ikhwani, the fourth proof is one of the problems that causes people to fall into innovations in the first place. The sunnah, as Al-Imam Ahmed described it when he was asked about the sunnah, he said that the sunnah is the athar of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In his book Usul Sunnah, the fundamentals of the sunnah, he said about the sunnah is following the companions and being upon what they were upon. When he was asked about the definition of al-ittiba', following, how is a person considered to be a muttabi' and not a mubtadi'? A person who follows, he practices and he follows the athar, as opposed to the mubtadi' who follows his desires, who worships Allah on the harf. What's the difference? What's the ittiba'? He said al-ittiba' is for a man to follow what the companions were upon. And then when he comes to the tabi'een, he is mukhayyar. And when he comes to reading and finding out what the tabi'een did, he has a choice. He can follow that or he can leave it. But the real example are the companions. That's al-ittiba'. The tabi'un have to follow the companions. So many people fall into the innovation because of this fourth tariqah, the fourth way that these people make this istinbat to find out whether it is permissible or not permissible to do the fast or the salat on this particular night. And it comes as a result of people taking general ahadith, general ayats of the Quran, and then making those general statements specific for a particular time or place. There's a general hadith that whoever goes in the ribat 40 days, 40 days, whoever is taking care of the Muslim frontiers, this is the Muslim city, so he's not in the city, nor is he out making jihad, out in the battlefield making jihad. Your son, my son, the teenagers, the youngsters, they have been put outside of the frontiers of the city in order to protect the frontiers of the Muslims. It's not a nice job. They may be out there for a year, 2 years, and not engage the enemy. It's their responsibility to just protect the Muslims in their frontiers so that the enemies don't come and pounce upon the Muslims. So it's not a job of excitement. The person may not want to do it. So Rasulullah wanted to encourage the people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, whoever does this 40 days, he is in jihad, fi sabilillah, even if he's not fighting the enemy. He gave us so many hadith. The one who his eyes are looking to protect the Muslims, his eyes won't be touched by the hellfire, along with the one who cries from the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. So it was an encouragement. You're not engaging the enemy, you're just sitting out there watching the frontiers. So now that is a specific hadith. Someone wants to come and they want to take that hadith and they say, okay, we're going to make khuruj for 40 days. I'm going to leave Birmingham and I'm going to go to Dewsbury and I'm going to stay in the masjid in Dewsbury for 40 days. And I'm going to use that hadith to say the 40 days that I'm in the masjid in Dewsbury is jihad, fi sabilillah. No, this is an innovation. And this is not the way that you understand the religion in al-Islam, ikhwani. So you cannot take general statements to make something specific special. It's not permissible. So they take the general statements, like all of those ahadith. He told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as-salatu khayrul mawdu'. As-salatu khayrul mawdu'. The salah is the best thing, the best subject, the best issue. That's a general hadith. So the person says, okay, since salat is the best issue, the best thing that I can do on the 15th of Shabaan is to pray Qiyam al-Layl. So I'm going to get up and I'm going to pray. Am I saying, ikhwani, that he can't pray on that night? No, we're not saying that. But he shouldn't choose this night specifically to say, if I pray on this night, such and such a thing is going to happen. Or he can't believe and think, this special night is the night in which I've been commanded to pray. Allah will forgive the man who stands up for Qiyam al-Layl and he wakes his family up. So he takes that hadith and he does it for the 15th of Shabaan. You can't take these ahadith and these ayat in order to practice this particular ibadah, because it's taking something that is general and you're making it specific, and it is not permissible to do that. The general thing in al-Islam remains general until something specific comes and makes it mustahab or other than that. Everyone here, ikhwani, everyone here would agree with me that Friday is a virtuous day in this deen. The general hadith of Friday. The general of hadith on Friday established that he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, khayru yawm ittala'at fihi shams yawm al-jum'ah. The best day that the sun comes out during the course of the week is the Friday. It's the best day. On Friday, Adam was created, he was put in Jannah, he was expelled from Jannah. Yawm al-Qiyamah will be established on Friday. It's the day that the Jews and the Christians had ikhtilaf about. The Jews made their day of, the special day of gatherings, they made it Saturday. And the Christians made it Sunday. And Allah Azza wa Jal guided this ummah. It's a virtuous day. The day of Jummah. So can someone come now and say, since Friday is the best day, I'm going to fast because it's Friday? He said, don't do that. Do not use Friday. لا تختصوا ليلة الجمعة بقيام بين الليالي ولا تختصوا ليلة الجمعة بالصيام من بين الليالي. Do not choose the night of Friday as a special night that you're going to pray to make the tahajjud prayer simply because it's Friday night. Thursday night after Maghrib, before Friday Jummah, that morning, 2, 3, 4 o'clock, that night, before Friday Fajr, you're making tahajjud because this is the special day of Jummah. He said, don't do that. And don't choose Jummah day as a day that you're going to fast. It's a special day, so I'm going to fast on this day. لا تصوموا يوم السبت إلا فيما افترض عليكم. Don't fast on the Saturday except what has been made an obligation upon you. So you can't fast Saturday because it's the day you're off of work. This is the day I don't work, so I'm going to fast Saturday. A narration that said, don't choose Saturday as a day that you're going to fast. When do you fast on Friday? When do you fast on Saturday? You fast on Friday or you fast on Saturday if you fast every other day, the fast of Dawood. So it's going to be that you're going to fast certain Fridays and certain Saturdays because you're fasting the fast of Dawood. You fast on Thursday, you fast on Friday or Saturday. If you want to fast on Friday, you have to fast on the Saturday after, day before, day after. Even on the day of Arafat, Ikhwani, if Arafat is on the Saturday, you shouldn't fast. Only on the day that you normally fasted on that particular day because you fasted the Siyam of Dawood. Do not fast on Saturday. A clear hadith. لا تصوموا يوم السبت إلا فيما افترض عليكم. Don't choose the Saturday as the day to fast except on what is obligatory. The day of Jummah, the day of Ramadan, there are Saturdays that are an obligation. Outside of Ramadan, our wives are completing the days from last Ramadan, so she needs a whole week. So she fasts the whole week straight. It's permissible. This is permissible. So the point is, Ikhwani, it's not permissible in the religion of Al-Islam to take something that is general and to make it specific. If we were allowed to do that, then we're going to open up the door for having innovations. Which brings me to the last point. Over the weekend, we gave some talks concerning the danger of al-iftiraq, being disunited, and the evil of not being united, and the prohibition of being disunited. We explained that there is a difference between al-iftiraq and al-ikhtilaf. We went through that. In an issue like this, Ikhwani, those from amongst you who are students of knowledge, and we're all trying to be students of knowledge on some level, this hadith and this issue goes to show, as I mentioned earlier, this is an ikhtilaf in the ummah, akramakallah ya akhi, that does not require nor does it allow us to hate people based upon their practicing this particular innovation. The Muslims, barakallahu fikum, are not people who really understand the religion. And even if a person were to hear what I just said, he may not be convinced. He may say, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam fasted the whole month. And in that whole month was the 15th of Shabaan. So why and how should I spend the month in any way other than worshiping Allah Azza wa Jal? It only makes sense. That's what his Imam says. That's what his ijtihad led him to. That's not precision in the way that he thinks, because he should ask himself, did the companions do it? That's what it is, and that's what it means to be Salafi. Did the companions understand? And Imam al-Barbahari used to say, Rahimahullah ta'ala, beware. Beware of every newly invented matter that comes to you, especially during your time. When something is introduced, you have to ask, is it something that the companions used to do and they were upon? If you find that they were, then take it and hold on to it. If you find that they were not upon it, then abandon it and beware of it. And then the evil of innovation is that every innovation, Ikhwani, it starts off as being something small. First it starts off with the tabi'een from Shab. It starts off by them just making the salat in the confines and the privacy of their own homes. And then it turned into candles being put in the masjid. And then added on to the candles was the bukhur, or the incense. And now we, we come and we become mutafanninun. We start adding on to it. We start sending sweet rice, candy, tea with milk, sweet tea, and on and on. We gather in the masjid, and then we make the dhikr that is not permissible and is not from the deen. Whenever we open up the door for a small bid'ah, it always, by its nature, turns into something bigger. No small innovation remains small. That's why kullu bid'atin dalala. Those people were against the companions. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, those people were in the masjid, and they were in their groups, 10 people over here, 10 people in that circle, 10 people in that circle, and they had an amir in each circle telling them, say subhanallah 100 times, and they would do it with the rocks. Say alhamdulillah 100 times, and they would do it with the rocks. When Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu went and he dealt with them, and the story is well known, the tabi'i who narrated this hadith, he said, those people who we saw in the masjid that day, they were the majority of the people from the Khawarij who were fighting Ali ibn Abi Talib. Those people thought that they can come and sit 10 people together in a halaqah, in a circle, and make a dhikr that was an innovation. Their rocks, those small pebbles that they used on that day, turned into swords after that, and they pulled those swords out against the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that's the nature of every innovation, that it starts off small and then it grows big. The nature of every innovation is that when you do an innovation, something from the sunnah is going to be lost. If you read the Quran in the month of Ramadan, and you don't have to read the Quran, you just want to follow the imam, and there's not a need for you to follow the imam. So you hold the mushaf. When it's time to make the sajda, you don't want to put the mushaf on the ground, so you put it under your arm. And I don't know which one is more respectful or more disrespect. Put it on the ground or under the armpit, where it's musty. I don't know which one is respectful and which one is disrespect. So when he puts it under his arm, he has to make sajda and he has to hold it under his arm. So he loses what? The sunnah of opening his arms, the sunnah of praying correctly. Every innovation is like that. That's the nature of innovation. Create the innovation, something from the sunnah will be lost in its place. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu described this time when he asked the people during his time from the tabi'een, كَيْفَ أَنْتُمْ إِذَا لَبِسَتْكُمْ الْفِتْنَةُ? How is it going to be when the fitna comes on you people? What are you going to do? They said, and when is that time? When is the fitna going to come? What do you mean? He said, it is the time when the old person is going to, one who's mature, he's going to become senile. And the one who is young, he's going to walk. The fitna is going to be so great, young people will become the ones who are in positions of leadership. Elders will be put out to pasture. وَإِذَا تُرِكَ مِنْهُ شَيْءٍ قِيلَ تُرِكَتِ السُّنَّةِ. And during the time of the fitna, if something is left, people stop doing a particular thing from the innovation, the people will say the sunnah has been lost. If the people stop doing Shab, baraat, his relatives say this sunnah of al-Islam has been lost. So it's not permissible, ikhwani, the issue of the ibadat on this particular day, unless you were doing it just for the sake of doing it the correct way. Tonight, you normally don't get up for Salat al-Tahajjud, and I'm telling you, you can't get up? La, you can get up tonight if you want to get up. Tonight. Today is the 15th. But don't think by your getting up on this particular night that you were ordered or commanded or encouraged in the deen to search out this particular night with any form of ibadah. Those people who thought Shab baraat was yesterday and they fasted on Monday, if the fast was because it was Yawm al-Ithnain, Monday, no problem. But if he's fasting because it's the day of the 15th, then we say that is not from the sunnah, nor is it from the practice of the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. So what we're going to do, ikhwati fillahi, is we're going to resume our class inshallah about the Kitab al-Kaba'ir next Tuesday. We just wanted to give some elaboration and clarification on the issue of Shab al-Baraat. Don't do it, stay away from it. Okay, if you guys, if brothers have any questions or comments, inshallah, about this particular issue, inshallah, you can put your questions and comments. to us. هل عندكم شيء؟
Can you tell us Aki, about the fasting on Saturday? What's the hikmah? What's the dalil and the hikmah behind this? Because the Jummah is the day of Eid for us. Like, that's what the scholars explain. They say
Another example is what the brother just mentioned when we talk about days of virtues and then taking things that are general and then we make them specific. The day of the Eid is one of the best days during the course of the year. But the religion didn't allow us to fast on the day of the Eid. As a matter of fact, the deen prohibited us from fasting on the day of the Eid. But if a person allowed himself to use his intellect, he says, Friday is a tremendous day. The 15th of the night of Shabaan is a tremendous day. This is a tremendous day, so let me do this ibadah or that ibadah. No, the ibadat in al-Islam are tawqifiyah. The worship in al-Islam should not and cannot be done unless you have a proof to do it. We don't do plays. We don't do plays in order to give da'wah ilallah. We don't do plays. The anashid that the people are doing. The way we're going to learn our religion is with the anashid and the music, and that's the way we're going to be students of knowledge. We're going to give da'wah to the youth by getting a singing group to call them to the religion. The way of giving da'wah in al-Islam is tawqifi. As it relates to the wisdom behind the prohibition of Yawmul Sabt and fasting on Yawmul Sabt on the Saturday, is as the ulama of al-Islam have mentioned, in this particular issue has been explained in quite a bit of detail in the book Faydul Qadir, which is the explanation of the ahadith in Al-Jami al-Saghir to al-Suyuti, is because Yawm al-Sabt is the day that the Jews, they stop working, and the fast, as-Sawm in Arabic is al-Imsak, to hold back. So in the month of Ramadan, or when the Muslim fasts, he holds back from eating, drinking, and having physical relations with his family. So the Jews on this Yawm al-Sabt, on the Saturday, they make him sack. They don't fish, they don't cook. Even now, so-called Orthodox Jews, they cook on Friday in preparation for the Sabbath. So in order not to be like them, the Prophet ﷺ prohibited us from choosing Yawm al-Sabt as a day of fasting. So you shouldn't fast this particular day unless it is an obligation upon you. Now, any more questions, Ikhwani? إذن لنكتفي بهذا القدر سائلين الله سبحانه وتعالى يوفقنا وإياكم. هذا وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.